Chair. I think I'm going to be brief. I wanted to say that I know that this, the access shelter conversation has been very difficult for the entire community recently, and I wanted to affirm and articulate that, Homeless Services Network, Central Florida Commission on Homelessness, are very grateful that this city has led for more than a decade on homeless services for our region. And so we are grateful for that. We recognize that District 5 has also led with compassion and supporting programs in that area. And I just want you to all hear, and this group to all hear, that we are very intentional and dedicated to encouraging, working with the other jurisdictions in our region to create the opportunities that are needed so that everyone's citizens, the residents in everyone's districts, everyone's community have a place that's reasonable for them to receive the services that they need. So I just wanted to affirm that and make sure that you are aware that we are very much invested in a regional approach, with regional solutions, and with opportunities in other districts, in addition to the ones where we currently have the really good districts that we already have. But we know that they need to be elsewhere, and that is our, and we appreciate that the city is working with us in those conversations and trying to make that happen as well. That's all I wanted to say.
Martha, before you leave, let me reiterate that. This has to be a regional approach. We've called it a regional approach, but it's not always a regional approach. It always ends up being a city approach. And right now in Orange County, there are, I think, about 1,300 shelter beds, all of which are filled on a nightly basis. So we somewhere in the neighborhood of 750 unsheltered individuals. I wouldn't say I'm bad, but I definitely call for other districts in the city, necessarily, but other communities in the unincorporated as well as the county to get involved in this work. Orange County has set aside $10 million for this subject as a plan that I know of for the use of that $10 million right now. In fact, the council voted down taking some money that was left over ARPA money to $4 or $5 million used specifically because we also listen to great ideas about where very pointedly for the last 5 years that have gotten nowhere. So we landed with a property that we thought might be adequate to do the jobs. I mean, is probably not the property that we're going to end up being able to locate something, but something has to get camping, specifically on public property. And we don't want to be arresting people simply because they don't have a place to stay at night. So I think we need to have a renewed effort in our community to deal with this issue. I appreciate you being on this issue and being here to address it today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me first give kudos to Martha Hart. She's done a wonderful job, and also Lisa Portelli. They worked under as part of the commission you started years ago. We are to convene another meeting I don't know how many months ago. How many months ago was it, Martha? That you guys did? Yeah, about 3 months ago, you guys did a symposium. We call them the Tri-County Legal Cities. We include everybody. And we're going to follow up. We're going to call them again. Try to get everybody so we can get them in around with understanding to get everybody involved so we can all together go to Tallahassee and Washington for fun. They're doing a wonderful job. I exhort them for anybody else who's listening to be part of this movement because we seriously need it. Thank you.
Commissioner, how about we challenge them to do one shelter easier and then
We'll do it. We'll do it. Something good. Thanks, Sean.
Has been as our city council, and we had no clue, and it was only until the residents organized themselves to try to oppose it that we were able to have a community-wide meeting that the city would be able to come and tell us what's going on. And so there was a couple grievances, a few. One thing I will say is that the residents are compassionate about those who are experiencing homelessness. We are not ignorant to the fact that any of us, so many of us, are one step about is this lack of communication and it was only reactionary when it was. The fact that we have all of them, or the majority of the shelters, and if the city of Orlando is bearing the burden of most of the Central Florida region, it feels like the city is saying, well, District 5, we appoint you to be the area in the city who bears the burden on behalf of the city, who is bearing the burden on behalf of the region. There was a task force that we found out in 2023 with some residents from District 5, and their recommendation to the city was do not put another shelter in our district. And the fact that these would have been on here if not for residents coming out and speak, feels like the city is saying, we hear you, but it is in the best interest of the city that you bear this burden. And finally, the homeless services network, in their point in time study from January 2024, they list numbers when they evaluate. And it shows that 31% of those who they counted had severe mental illness or substance abuse issues. And so if we're going to put 250 beds and introduce a whole new community of homelessness, then it is not wrong for the residents to say, well, how do we keep this safe? Because we're not demonizing the 69% or the 100%, but we are thinking soberly about the fact that when you introduce this, there will be many people in the community where our children walk to school every day, where our houses are, where we want a quality of life. And the only solution we got from the city was there will be more police, and we will talk to you about it after the vote has been done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Malaya, Zeland, Alexander May, Macy Isom, and Cynthia. Malaya? No. Macy? She left as well. Cynthia, I never saw her. Okay. Those all of the ones I think that related to.
I'm registered to speak.
On it, not on this issue, but I have a lot more cards.
Yes, homelessness. 8-4.
Let her speak.
4-8. Patient waiting. 4, item 8. Homelessness.
Okay, Mr. Clark, I don't see another card.
What's your name?
Your name?
Trini Quiroz.
Copella.
Okay, I very rarely do this if I don't have a card to come on.
Pardon me?
I'm not setting precedent here, anybody. She did?
Good afternoon. My name is Trini Quiroz, 2000 Youth Press Orlando. It's very difficult not to be part of government or part of agencies or non-profits that receive lots of funding. My associates and organizations, we are private funding from our money. We feed, we cook, and we help the homeless. And as Ms. R is present, sometimes I constantly declare because our homeless are really thrown out, evicted because they can no longer pay these immoral rents that the area has, that goes from Orlando and the county and everything. I am here because the numbers are not right, and I will appreciate that the city of Orlando, as I will say to the county of Orange, to reflect the correct population of the homeless. We do a lot of homeless in the east side and in the west side, and as I say, privately. It costs us money, but we give it freely. So therefore, when I heard in the budget, number 4.8, for the fiscal year 2024, I don't know if I was hearing wrong, that only 116,000 were approved for that. Because that is the case, that's peanuts, that's nothing. And I will appreciate very much that I be directed to the persons who are in charge of the homeless situation in the city of Orlando so that we can communicate. I'm speaking for a group of people who do this work not only in Orange County, but in Osceola and in Seminole. We don't want to be adversaries. We want to be allies to help the people. You may never see the people that we see, that we send to mental health agencies and people who need medical care. Ours is a private situation because there is no help for them, whether it's nonprofits or whether it's the city or whether it's the county. And that is a known fact that everybody tries to avoid. And I mentioned, I have to give credit to Commissioner from District 5, Ms. Rose, for mentioning the homeless in your speech. I am here because my heart really breaks down when I talk about homeless. God has been so good to all of us who help the homeless that that's why we do it, out of our goodness of our heart and in the name of God. And I just want to leave you with this phrase before the bell rings. When Jesus was on earth, he saw the multitudes. And when he saw the multitudes, he was moved to compassion, for they were like sheep without shepherd. We appoint you as shepherds. Please help the homeless. Thank you.
Ms. Ortiz? I'm not sure what funding that you're speaking of.
Mayor, I think it was the outreach funding to the healthcare center for the homeless.
Okay,
That
that's
was
just
16.
one item.
That was strictly for outreach.
Oh, okay, strictly
And
outreach.
we took the vast majority of our $58 million of ARPA funding and allocated 56 million something directly towards homeless services.
All right, clarified, thank you.
Okay, the next group, for the most part, is flooding in Lakeview Park. So we'll start with Larry Dominguez, Isabella Brown, and Scott Paxton.
Hello, Mayor. I'm Larry Dominguez from Wakeview Park. I live on East Grant Street. Been there for 22 years. David Weekly Homes bought 9 lots on the north side of Page Street between Delaney Avenue and Central Avenue last year. After clearing these lots, I noticed load after load of dirt on 2 items. It looked like a mountain behind my house located on the south side of East Grant Street. Last November, I raised my concerns to the Wakeview Park Association president, and he sent me a link to put in a request to code enforcement. I submitted a written request explicitly addressing the extreme elevation changes associated with the new development on Page Street. After a couple of weeks and hundreds of loads of additional dirt being added, I looked up the status of my report. Ironically, code enforcement closed it out using a bogus address with no explanation. It was suggested by the community president to email our commissioner, Patty Sheehan. I did. She responded right away and referred this issue to her stormwater team. Each response was referring me to someone else. Out of frustration and concern, now there was a mountain of dirt behind 6 more homes on East Grant Street. I addressed this issue again with our community president. He ultimately arranged a public meeting on March 11th at the Wakeview Community Center with Patty Sheehan and her public works team led by Corey Knight. At the meeting, after hearing story after story about building codes, I asked Corey Knight who would take responsibility when we actually got flooded. He would only say my concerns were hypothetical and refused to answer my question. I walked away from that meeting knowing that this was a lost cause and the city just didn't care about my neighborhood. September 1st, it rained 4 to 6 inches within a 3-hour period. A river of water blew out the soil under my back fence from the Page Street new developments. I had 3.5 inches of water enter my home from my backyard. There was so much water running through the yards on the south side of East Grand Street that it totally overwhelmed the storm drains located on East Grand Street. That water ultimately rushed towards a lower elevation through the city's construction project on Delaney Avenue and flooded Cayley Avenue. 22 years in my home, through multiple hurricanes, we've never had flooding like this. I wrote an email to Corey Knight with no response. This past election, I proudly voted for Patty Sheehan. But with the way she's reacted to our legitimate concerns, now she comes off as a victim when she speaks to the people who gave her this important job. I'm somewhat disappointed. Thank you.
Okay, and let's put it on. At the end of this, have Corey, you know, the rest about this one, the courts come and speak to the issues. So, Isabel Brown.
Before my 3 minutes starts, can I provide a packet with a map and some photos to complement my statement to you all?
Sure, and then you can come around, so we can, is it over there? Oh, your handout?
Thank you. My name is Isabella Brown, and I'm speaking to you today as a very significant. However, we have experienced significant storm event system from the poor management of delayed and likely is what led to catastrophic flooding in our area. Similar to crime watches, you as a city depend on us to be the eyes and ears for concerns in our community. You need us to come forward with problems that we see. I'm here not only as a citizen, but as a professional in this field, doing just that, hoping that myself and my neighbors who are directly impacted by floodwaters in our homes not listed in flood zones, are heard. We need action, transparency, and communication. We need to know short-term plans for future management of road work on Delaney Avenue, so our already taxed system is not taking on an additional burden it cannot handle. In the midterm, we need to know how the city plans to fix the original underlying issue of the overwhelmed and overtaxed system in our neighborhood. It seems to me that with our stormwater fees increasing by at least 50% over the next 4 years, localized problem areas like ours should be a priority project moving forward for additional assessments of the existing stormwater infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you for the detail. Scott Paxson, Stephen Harrison, Katie Koch.
How are you? Commissioners, how are you? I'm just here as a voice for our community. I've been in my area for over 20-some years, and I've never seen anything like this.
You want to see Paxson?
Oh yeah, Scott Paxson, Wayview Park, 3206. We can point fingers. It's not really about pointing fingers. We know there's some missed opportunities. We were just looking for our leaders, all of our leaders, to just give us explanation on where the opportunities were missed. We know that the contractor didn't follow standard protocols that you have all put into place. We have it videotaped, we watched it. We saw this as a slow train wreck coming, and the aftermath of the storm on the first was catastrophic. We can't wait Mother Nature, but we can hold the contractor accountable for not following protocols and doing what we as leaders have put into place for them. And we just hope that everybody listens to everybody, what they have to say. A lot of people are impacted. Once again, a lot of emotions are put out there, and I know we've had a lot of emotions through this trying time. We have people that their house was catastrophically destroyed, and they just moved into it. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. I think as a community, we just were looking for answers and resolution on what was going to be done, and we didn't get any of that. And a lot of calls went into the contractor with nothing. But now, after all of this happened, you'll now see the city trucks out there clearing the drains. It just was not happening before this, or a few days after. It's not about any one person being held accountable. It's not how do we get to the root cause, how do we figure out how it can be prevented in the future, and some accountability on the contractor who debacled this project. And that's all I have to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Stephen Harrison, Katie Koch, comment.
My name is Stephen Harrison. My wife and I reside at 530 East Carey Street. Just 1 month after moving in, my home was devastated by flooding on September 1st. I was unable to return home due to significant water accumulation on Orange Avenue and Delaney Avenue. I abandoned my car and waited home, only to find every room submerged. The damage is extensive, and it includes irreplaceable family memories. Our fence line indicates that the water exceeded over 2.5 feet. Since 2000, Florida has been impacted by 76 tropical or subtropical storms, but our neighborhood has never experienced flooding of this magnitude. Neighbors who have lived here for over 20 years confirm that even Hurricane Irma did not cause the level of flooding to our streets. So it leads to the question, what is taking place right now that makes this different? That being the Delaney Avenue project and the planning of the water runoff. Delaney Avenue had every single storm drain blocked during the storm. Water from Orange, Delaney, Harding, and other streets came flooding like a river, funneled into one street, which is Esther, and thoroughly through to my home. The enormous amount of water left our system overwhelmed. Your website says that the contractor and the city would monitor weather conditions. Was this done? What communication occurred regarding storm preparations, especially given this is a 1 in 10-year storm as stated by your officials? I requested clarification from your Director of Public Works regarding whether Delaney Avenue was ever in any capacity spoken of in terms of its use to serve as an overflow from Orange Avenue. His response was to contact the FDOT for those answers. Why? How is it possible that you are not aware of such critical details before starting a major project alongside the Orange Avenue project? How is there no communication on projects with such far-reaching impact to our community? You claim the storm drains could not handle the volume of rain. If that's the case, who signed off on $30 million of our taxpayers' money for systems that are already inadequate for the job? We, as your constituents, deserve a leader who shows up, who doesn't moan about the hard position that they're in and they are elected to do. How dare leadership show up at my destroyed home and play victims to the cameras? Leadership still haven't offered any support or even had the decency to say, we are sorry that this happened to you. Your level of competency, empathy, and leadership is an astounding 0. You have failed, you have turned your back on your community. We need to move forward with transparency and a comprehensive plan for the well-being of our city and the communities that you guys are responsible for. Thank you.
Mayor Gutter, thank you for having me. My name is Katie Koch. I live at 612 Daniels Avenue. I've been a resident of District 4 for 21 years now. We're also small business owners of District 4 for 14 years. One thing I would like to note before I start is you're referencing this as a significant weather event in Wakeview. This just didn't happen in Wakeview Park. This happened in the Soto area near Target. This happened at South and Summerlin, where cars were stranded. This happened at Michigan, where our office resides, where cars were stranded. So I just want to make note, this did not just happen, unfortunately, to the Wakeview folks. There's just other communities that aren't represented here today. So I'm here to stand with the residents of District 4 in hopes of seeking solutions. And I think everybody here is to seek solutions or to have open and honest, transparent communication with our leaders, because we're not getting that right now. So that would be appreciated from the district to just understand what's causing the flooding issues. It's happening in multiple areas. And to many people's point, it was very disappointing to watch our leader of District 4 show no empathy or professionalism when being confronted by the concerns. And as a resident of District 4 for many years, a lot of us feel that way. We feel unheard, we feel unanswered, and it's incredibly frustrating. You know, most of you know our taxes have been increased for the betterment of the maintenance, especially the stormwater drainage, infrastructures of the roads. And so we're just trying to understand from a public works perspective where the disconnect is. Where is it happening? Lack of adequate response in the past few weeks just really feels like there's mismanagement from the city and mismanagement of leadership. And I stand with everybody here today in feeling those concerns, and we felt them for many, many years. So that's all I have to say.
Sean, have it. Dan's going first.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for allowing me to speak today. I'm here today, my name is John, and I live at 714 Palmer Street in Lake Davis. I'm here today as I feel an obligation to stand with my fellow neighbor and community in support of their frustration as a result of the flooding event on September 1st. As a downtown realtor for over 20 years, I want to share how flooding and potential flooding can directly affect a homeowner's property value and the financial burden as a result of a flood. Homeowners who live in an area that is not in a flood zone, who do not have flood insurance, are often faced with having to cover the cost of the flood damage. Many insurance companies whose policyholders only have homeowners insurance will not cover flood damage, letting the property owner financially strapped and in some cases forced to sell their property in as-is condition, typically at a loss. For example, when Hurricane Ian flooded Lake Davis, 3 to 4 property owners living directly on the lake were forced to sell their property because they were not covered by flood insurance. Their damages were too costly to stay and had to abandon their homes. Also, a homeowner who wishes to sell their home in the future must, by law, disclose home flooding and to what extent. This affects the potential sale of property as well as the value, leading to the loss of equity. The second item that I want to address is the unethical behavior of an elected city official which, confronted by their constituents who are experiencing the unfortunate burden of having their property damaged or destroyed by flooding issues. True property owners of an affected area may be angry and pushed to a place of profuse frustration. It is unacceptable for an elected official to meet that frustration with blatant disrespect, rudeness, and display an unsympathetic attitude which resulted in just walking away and not trying to understand the viewpoint of their constituents. Refusing to view the property at a property owner's request, leaving a feeling of abandonment and lacking any sign of compassion. Not only was that behavior demonstrated to the citizens on September 4th in Wakeview Park, but it was put on public media for the whole city to witness. Not a good look for a city that touts itself as inclusive, loving, equality, and understanding. This type of behavior only adds to the already overwhelming stress of having to deal with putting their everyday lives back on track, but puts a question of confidence and ability of that elected official to handle any future emergency crisis. Myself, I was absolutely appalled at what I watched on the news. Lastly, I must question the planning of this improvement project in tandem with the Orange Avenue project. Could the Delaney project have been started at a later time as when the area was not heavily affected by drainage and road projects? Is this area being overbuilt to where homes are now occupying most of the property with no place for water to be absorbed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Robin Butler. I reside at 505 East Esther Street in downtown Orlando. I have owned my home for 21 years. And as the majority of the neighbors on our block, there's 15 homes. Of those 15 homes, 7 of them, people have lived there 21 years up to 65 years. 47% of the neighbors on that street have never seen an event like we had on September 1st. We have experienced significant rainfall events similar to that. Not limited to 5.59 inches of rainfall on October 8th of 2011, 5.25 inches on November 25th of 2014, 6.95 inches on September 10th of 2017, 5.14 inches on August 6th of 2021, and 6.74 inches on September 28th of 2022 with Hurricane Ian. In none of those instances did we have flooding on East Esther Street. In none of those instances of significant rainfall that were no different than the rainfall of September 1st, with the exception of the construction project on Orange Avenue, simultaneous with the construction project on Delaney, where every single one of the storm drains was blocked on Labor Day weekend. Now, they're supposed to have a sleeve on them. Yes, there is a sleeve on them, but in that sleeve that should be permeable is a plastic pipe that is not permeable. So the water had nowhere to go. The water traveled down Delaney and drug all the dirt with it and brought it right down Esther Street. I stood on my front porch in absolute awe of nature and what was going on and how the drains were not absorbing. The drains on the corner, I'm on the corner of Osceola and Esther, there are two drains there. The water was going right past them because that slope on that intersection has been built up over years and it no longer slopes as it should to go into the drain. So two storm drains were being missed completely to head down to where it ended up in the yard and in the house of Ann and Stephen Harrison. I actually asked them, what can I do to help? They said, could you please help us with a little bit of laundry? I took the laundry to my home. I washed one load 3 times on extra rinse. Could not get the silt, it just came to the top. Their entire home is covered with it. I want to thank you for the time, and just to let you know that this significant event is not something that we haven't experienced, just the flooding. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the last one in this group is Ann Zorn Harrison.
Not yet. No.
Corey, could you come up? Corey Knight is our Director of Public Works. He's, as familiar as anybody can see, on specific issues of the Orange Avenue project that is in fact a DOT project. The other project is the city line.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. First of all, let me say, we are truly sorry for those of you that experienced a rainfall event like we had. It was a tremendous rainfall event over the short period of time. Let me say this, normally what we design our stormwater systems to is an event that's not as intense in a short amount of time that we saw with this rainfall event. This rainfall event happened. Normally what we see is rainfall totals over a 24-hour period or some period. This rainfall event was very particular. In fact, the short 2-hour window that this thing happened, of that we had some data from one of the gauges that said 4 of those inches happened in 1 hour, the first hour of this event. And so it was a tremendously taxing rainfall event on the system that we have. Normally we design for systems that handle about 0.85 inches of water per hour. This far exceeded that. I know there's some frustration and there's some blame that has been levied on the Delaney project, but I want to be clear, this event was so intense that project or not, you would have seen some of this level of what it did. So, and yes, you are correct. The project since Orange Avenue is the FDOT road, that project up there is FDOT. That's why people will refer to FDOT. That is standard practice that we have. There was another thing said about what are we doing, what's the plan? Well, one of the reasons why we came to council about the stormwater fee and needing that is because we realized there's some stuff that we want to do and we need to do. We have we have some, events. There's another event. It just rained really hard today, for those of you that have been in here and seen some of this too. So there are these events that are happening on a more frequent basis than what traditionally we have seen quite often. We've been used to the summer thunderstorms that happen. Now we're seeing these thunderstorms that are happening with more frequency and more intensity than what we have seen before. So we are actively looking into that. We have a project right now where we are studying many areas to see if there are projects we can put into effect in these areas. We're happy to reach out to residents and say, hey, here's the plans going forward. We have no problem with that. We try to do it in a regular basis. The Delaney Avenue project is a much needed project that we had kind of been putting off for a while because we didn't have the funding to do it. And so we got the funding. We're trying to do the project right now as it goes on. We are going to continue to do projects. They're disruptive. I understand projects are disruptive in general, but as you saw, and as I've heard some people say, you know, over time, things get built up, things don't work. We are trying to correct some of that right now as we speak. So I hope that brings a little bit of light to what we're dealing with. I can answer your question.
And we're always, as far as the word, sympathetic to our residents when events of this sort happen, whether it's simply man-made or whether there are other reasons of construction or not. After Hurricane Ian, we studied the areas that were most impacted around, well, a little north of Wakeview, that took the brunt of that flooding, and have tried to see if there are ways that we could, if we have another Ian, limit the impact there. So, Corey, what I'd like to do, this actually is a pretty good document.
Yes.
I think.
And
I'm civil engineer too, by the way. I'm practicing now. But I think what I would like us to do is see if there are some temporary things that we can do.
Yes.
Let's assume, I know that this is supposed to be one of the most prolific hurricane seasons that we've had in a while, whether Charlie, Francis, Gene, or Harvey Nash, quite honestly. But we can anticipate that we're going to have one or two major storm events. We're also going to have more than one or two, probably every afternoon storm events. We're not done with what used to be just our summer rainstorms. So if there is some ways that we can generate some temporary relief in the event that we do have another 7-inch storm in the course of 2 hours, I'd like to see if we could accelerate that.
Absolutely.
And we know what happened during the course of this storm. It's pretty well documented, and let's see if we could do some things that if we were to have this exact same storm again in 2 weeks, we could try to mitigate what happened on 2 Sundays ago.
Yes, sir. And we have crews out right now. We have staff out right now looking at that to see if there's some ways that we can help. Just take a look.
And let's set up a communications.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, that's what we can do today. Thank you for coming in. We do feel your pain in terms of flooding. We had that in East Orange County and Commissioner Ortiz's district in a condominium that the residents still, as far as I know, have not been able to reoccupy the units.
Mayor, I just, if you allow me to say something, because they were very effective in our district, Corey and his team. Because I'm pretty sure these people came here today to hear at least something. What could happen? What alternative do we have for something like this? What are they to expect in terms of expansion of piping? I mean, what would happen in order for them to have some idea of what to expect? Because I know a lot of this takes time and takes a lot of planning, but I think it would help them understand also what to expect and how they can collaborate also with the city.
Sure. A lot of this, what it gets into is we first start off with studies as the mayor brought up. We are continuing to do several studies throughout the city about what happened, especially after we saw, the amount of rain. That was all for a longer period of time too. So, but in these instances, what normally happens is design intensive rainfall curves, which is what normally, we design the pipe sizes off of, is what we, enact. And we sent people out, Howard's crew, we have a lantern man, and they're called in case of issues like that, and they go around and try to stabilize the area, shortly after. Streets and Stormwater, led by Howard Elgin, who's with me today. They sent people out too. We looked at the pipe system all the way from this area all the way back to Wade, Lake Wade, which is back there. And he said it was clear. That doesn't say that there wasn't an issue in the pipe during the event. That's probably, he said the whole system was clear after this event. It drained shortly after this event. So we think that it was just an over taxation of what the actual system could handle.
All right, thank you, Corey. Commissioner Sheehan.
Yeah, Mayor, I would like to say to the residents, I am very sorry that this happened, and I understand the anger, but, when folks are angry, I don't engage. I do walk away because it was just a lot to deal with. I never speak to the level of education, and it was a very difficult situation. I understand people have the right to be angry. We did not have this level of flooding, even during hurricanes. It was 7 inches in less than 2 hours. The difficulty with this really is that we're getting more and more and more severe storms, and residents who have never needed it before need flood insurance, and it's almost impossible to get, and if you get it, it's ridiculously expensive, and some folks can't even afford their homeowners insurance anymore. So I think it's a larger problem than just the city. It's the fact that insurance has just become so unaffordable, and, we're having more and more flood events. So, this is a greater problem than the city of Orlando can address on its own. At least when we had some of the flooding that happened in the hurricanes, we were able to get FEMA assistance for the residents. Unfortunately, because this was not a disaster declaration, we can't get that. I reached out to our congressman to see if there's some way that we can amend that to be able to respond to storms of this level, now that we're getting more and more severe storms. So, again, I wish there was better answers that we had, and it's unfortunate. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, we're going to leave that subject matter. We still have, I think, 10 or so general appearance requests, and they are a number of different items. So, same rules apply for your name. Come up to the rostrum, and you'll have 3 minutes. So, Odysee Morris. Odysee Morris. No. Okay, Jamie Fletcher. After that is Courtney Jacobs.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Sandy Blucher. I'm at 2731 North Way, Orlando, Florida. I just wanted to come today to talk about some ongoing issues we're having with traffic and speed on Primrose Drive in the Lake Como area. I'm a parent of 2 students at Lake Como School K-8, located at the corner of 4th Street and Bogey Avenue. I also have a 3rd child who will be attending Lake Como next year. Speeding on Primrose Drive and currently a lack of a school zone has been a concern for some time. I've been in communication with our commissioner for probably a little over a year, almost 2 years now. And there have been things done. Primrose Drive is a residential street with a speed limit of 25 miles per hour, connects directly to Gore Street, and provides walking and biking access to Lake Como School for many of our walking and biking students. A number of observations have been conducted by the city, including a traffic study. The most recent of those reveal that they put out driver feedback signs, which reveal that 95% of the drivers are going 39.1 to 39.9 miles per hour while traveling northbound and southbound on Primrose. This means that while driving 4 children attempting to cross onto Gore Street to access Lake Como School, almost 95% of drivers are approaching that crosswalk at 15 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. A speed limit that you will note is already 10 miles per hour above what a normal speed limit would be on a street like Primrose with a known daily presence of children attempting to access a school. As a Lake Como resident and a parent, I was very happy to learn that the council had approved the measure to place speed cameras in school zones. I was likewise pleased to hear Lake Como School mentioned at that meeting. As you know, however, without a designated school zone, Primrose Drive under Florida law could not have those cameras. While the city has agreed to complete another traffic study on Primrose Drive subsequent to those data, the data from the display driver feedback signs, it's not clear why another traffic study is needed. The issues with Primrose Drive and the lack of a school zone has been raised continuously over a few years now, with prior observations and traffic studies having been conducted. The history of the road, coupled with the feedback received from the DFS, seems sufficient to warrant either a school zone or approval of other traffic calming measures. I would ask that you please expedite a decision so we can finally reach the implementation stage and exit this cycle of observation and study. Help us make our community safer, not just for Lake Como students, but for all the pedestrians and bikers in our community. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like we have somebody else that's gonna talk on the same issue, so let's do that and then respond. Courtney Jacobs.
Good afternoon, my name is Courtney Jacobus and I live on Wessex Street in Lake Como neighborhood in Commissioner Sheen's district. I rise today to address the persistent issue of speeding through Lake Como on Primrose Drive between Anderson and Curry Ford and the safety concerns associated with that, most specifically related to our need for a school zone or some other type of speed mitigation system to make this route as safe as possible for our kids and neighbors. There is currently no school zone in place on Primrose Drive approaching Gore for the students walking and biking to Lake Como K-8. But there are school zones in place at both Bumby and Gore and Crystal Lake and Lake Arnold. This part of Primrose is a major thoroughfare for students traveling to school, and it makes no sense that this portion of the road is not a school zone. I have been actively engaged via email with the help of Representative Anna Escamani's office and fellow parent Jamie Butcher to address the concerns with the city, ask what can be done to make this route more safe. The city continues to minimize our concerns and prioritize the people who use Primrose as a cut-through to avoid I-4 and get to the 408. These commuters purposely take Primrose in the mornings and evenings because unlike the other routes going north and south is in place at that intersection of Primrose. The literal definition of a school zone is a designated area near a school where drivers are alerted to the presence of children. This has zero to do with a crossing guard being present. And to that point, both Crystal Lake and Bumby have designated school zones and crossing guards present. What makes Primrose and Gore any different? After persistent pushback from myself, Ms. Blucher, and Representative Escamani's office, a speed study was implemented this past spring. To summarize the findings of the study, 85 out of 100 cars were going 39 miles per hour on Primrose. 85 out of 100 cars. Over 15 miles per hour over the speed limit, consistently. How can we continue to ignore this problem? What is so controversial about having to slow down to 15 miles per hour for 4 blocks? If the city continues to refuse to implement a school zone, we absolutely need some form of speed mitigation system. When the driver feedback signs were placed on Primrose following the initial speed study, rate of speed dropped to 31 miles per hour and 33 miles per hour. Obviously still not ideal, but an improvement. DFS signs work. I'm asking the city to please reconsider the implementation of the school zone or to implement one of these speed mitigation devices. Thank you.
I'm just see, I've been there for 21 years, I've never had the school zone issue, so I don't even know if we designate them or who, because she can get more info on that, or we have to ask the transportation people out there.
The transportation folks can tell a little more about the zones, but I did have a concern when the state said that we could do the school zone where we could put the cameras. And I did say, you know, we don't just be in the zones because the zones are closer to the school. The crossings come out from the schools, and they're where those really busy roads are, like Primrose and Conway and all that. So I think that's more of the issue, is that we need to be able to do the cameras, not just in the zones, but at the crossings as well. But in order to do that, we need to amend that at the state level, because the state allowed us to put the cameras in the zones, but not the crossings. And I believe, like they're saying, that where the crossing guards are closer to the school isn't where most of the problems are happening. That is actually at the crossings as the children are approaching. So I know that that is part of the problem. And, you know, if they want permanent driver feedback signs, I'm fine with that. If transportation, put them in whatever we can do. We have done some.
Lorenzo, can you come to my here? This is not my area of expertise. How do you cite schools?
I think Commissioner Sheehan addressed the issue about the cameras, so there's some limitation there.
Not the cameras, they're not as concerned about the cameras as they are simply having a mechanism slow people down. And I think having the school zone designated and coming on the crossing would do that.
Well, one possible strategy would be speed tables, for example. So it just depends on the number of vehicles that traverse that road. There's a certain limit.
And I know a bunch of good mitigation factors, but what do you have to do to have school zone?
I don't.
Ladies, do you happen to know?
I mean, honestly, I can't get a straight answer. Like, we've been constantly kind of bounced around to different people, and, I mean,
Okay, how about we will investigate that and figure out how to get that designated as school zone. I don't know if the city does that, or there's a state designation, or what happens in that regard. Hey, you look like.
Mayor, I think OCPS has a lot of involvement with it, but we'll help too.
Okay, we'll
look into it too.
To try to get that. In the meantime, the gentleman speaking there is the chief of staff for the police chief. And it turns out they can probably, for the next several weeks, have some additional law enforcement.
Already done, Mayor.
Okay, so those people that are speeding,
well, you're gonna make
may
some money.
not see the speed limit.
Those neighbors of yours that are speeding.
No, they're not. They're the 15 cars that aren't speeding.
Well, I'll talk to you. I put some people in place already, Mayor.
Okay. That is true, though. We go to neighborhood meetings, they want more patrols, and it's always your next door neighbor that's the one that gets.
Give them a ticket.
Speeding ticket.
When they try to post on our neighborhood page to look out for a speed trap, I curse those people out. We need you guys out.
Okay. Well, Mr. Arnott will help you with your issue. Okay,
I could just add, it's my understanding that the city has, taken on the financial burden of putting, school zones in place. And I do think with this new red light camera, I think a percentage of the money that's collected goes to OCPS. So I think it may be, we have an opportunity to speak with OCPS to see how we can expand the number of school zones that exist with this new income that will be coming up. Because I understand that OCPS does not participate in the financing that it takes to get those school zones. So I think we do with this red light camera and the revenue that's coming, have an opportunity to have that discussion to get them to participate, but in an effort to expand and increase the number of school zones that we have.
I do want to say though that we do need to work on crossings, because when I was out helping, cross kids and we were short of crossing guards, where much of the speed, and they were putting officers out with me to pull them over. The officers could not pull them over fast enough on Crystal Lake. So, it is a huge problem where they are speeding, where the children are crossing. Not just, this is the problem though, that the cameras are in the zones, but not at the crossings. We need them at the crossings as well.
Okay. Commissioner Ortiz, did you want to add to this?
Just a tiny bit thing. Speed tables are a great deterrent, and you can do an actual crossing on a speed table. So, and that's a street road. So if you get consensus from the community, you got it.
Yeah, to get a speed bump or speed table, you gotta have the majority of the neighbors run around it.
Well, I'm pretty sure they do that. They can. Okay.
All right, Dave, last one.
Yeah, Mayor, it's the State Department of Transportation is responsible for establishing the speed zones. We have to request of them. So we'll work with the Transportation Department here and see what we can do and to do a better survey. But the state themselves are responsible for establishing the speed zones.
Okay.
But not the,
Ma'am? Yes, ma'am.
but not the speed tables, that we can do.
No, the zones.
Okay.
And I think the commissioner is right. It's further out. If you have zones further out, we can control traffic better.
Okay. Rashani Robinson.
Good afternoon, my name is Shani Robinson. Thank you. Mayor, I reside at 817 San Diego Road. I am your 2004 Olympic gold medalist, and I just came and I came because I wanted to share about my experience in Paris. I did go to Paris to represent our country on a different level. This is my medal. An interesting fact, it is the last pure gold medal that was given at the Olympics, so you guys can take that with you. But what I thought was important to kind of share is that I have been residing in Orlando, Florida for 14 years. I was an educator at Orange County Public School for 12 years. I completely retired from the Orange County Public School District, and then I started working in our private school sector. I now definitely do my job to make sure that we, as Americans, as a citizen of this beautiful city, do my part to make sure that there's equity and inclusion for our young people, and everywhere I go and I represent myself. I thought it was interesting that for the 2 weeks that I was in Paris, I was there for a program called Living Sport. But while I was there, I was in a hotel and there was a commercial that came on. So obviously I'm watching the games, I'm there and I'm engaged. And I'm in the bathroom, and when I hear the commercial is about the city of Orlando, I absolutely come out of the bathroom. Not only that, the entire 2 weeks that I was there, the only city that NBC and Peacock spoke on visiting in the United States of America was the city of Orlando. Now I can tell you that I was quite proud that that was the case. But I thought it was important that I came to share with you all that it is important to me, not only as an Olympic gold medalist, that since our reach and our dollars can go all the way to Paris, that we look at the city beautiful as a city just different from any other city in the United States of America. And that Orlando isn't part of just Florida anymore, or just the United States, but it's a state that doesn't side on blue or red, but very purple. Because there are revenues and monies that want to come to this city. So all the things that the citizens have come to talk about, there are some things that we can do as a city to collectively move the county, the city, our school educators, as well as the police department and the sheriff department to make visiting the city beautiful for those outside of this country, knowing where our reach is, to get the kind of experience that we want them to have as Americans and what it's like to experience a real American patriotic existence. And I wanted to come and share that with you all, because you all are almost the president of a beautiful representation of what is the United States, when the only commercials that are run in Paris, France are on the city of Orlando. So kudos to your position, and I take it and I ask that you listen to all the citizens that come and speak, and also know that your position is something that is honored and a privilege, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. What event were you in? Yes?
Miss.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. It was the women's 4x4.
Oh,
Yes.
4x100?
The 4x400 meters, so everyone's, yes.
That's the event.
Yes, it is the event. And so this medal in particular in Athens, Greece, that was the 100th Olympiad, and it was the last pure gold medal that was given. All the rest of the medals are 18 karat gold plated. And I just have to say that I have enjoyed living here. The people who won across 1, 2, 3 women, they train right here in Claremont, but they live in Orlando, and so does Noah Lau. So when I tell you all that, this is a hub for athletes, Olympians, Paralympics to come train. I thank you guys. I thank the citizens for coming to speak. It makes me feel good that they speak. I hope you all hear them. because we represent more than just the city of Orlando, everyone that is here. Your city, the city is seen worldwide, and I think it's important that the citizens know that, that they're always represented to the best of their ability. That is beyond being a Floridian, beyond being a citizen of Orlando, but a community member and a citizen of the United States. Thank you guys so much, I appreciate it.
Okay, I said Omari was the number one in spot. Best limits of Michigan here. Okay, Daniel Pedraza.
Good afternoon, Mayor and fellow commissioners. My name is Daniel Pedraza, and I reside in 3819 Pirate Drive. As I embark on my journey to create a long-lasting impact on my community, it seems that my words have fallen on ears that do not hear. Hence why I'm here to you guys. So I appreciate the time given to me. My name is Daniel Pedraza. I was born in Medellin, Colombia, but I lived in Orlando since 2008. I went to Avalon Middle School, graduated from Timber Creek High School in 2017, and recently just graduated from UCF this past December. Orlando has been my home and will continue to be my home. I'm here because our community is facing a serious issue with fentanyl. It's no secret that my generation is being impacted the most. In 2022, Orange County had the highest number of fentanyl overdoses in the state. Additionally, I lost a close friend in high school to fentanyl in 2017. She was just a junior. It's a pain that sticks with me, and I know it's something that too many families are going through. But I am not here just to talk about the problem. We all understand that it's a harsh truth that we live in. So instead, myself and my mom came up with an innovative idea to combat this crisis. It's a nonprofit. We're in the process of being a 501c3. It's called Vending for Health. It's a plan to install Narcan vending machines in public places for free so people can access the life-saving medication when they need it, while also closely monitoring them closely so we do not overpopulate the city with Narcans. This approach has already worked in states like New York, Ohio, and Nevada. They saw a 15% drop in overdoses just by making Narcans more accessible and available to the public. Additionally, they saved the states millions in healthcare costs by keeping overdose patients out of long hospital stays. I've already got support from Dr. Hall, from the Director of Health Department Services, who's agreed to fund the first machine. A local rehab center in Maitland has agreed to sponsor us with the Narcans. They have a closet full of inventory, and it's just rotting in the closet there. As well as, I've talked to Sheriff Mina in the Department of Orange County Sheriff's Office that has helped me identify the areas where overdoses are happening the most. So all I'm asking for you now is to help me, redirect me to the right person so I can acquire the access to these key locations that I've analyzed that will create the most lasting impact on the community. I have 2 copies. It's a 12-page proposal. I apologize for not bringing more. I'm still a broke college student, unfortunately, so I can give you guys this proposal so you can analyze the locations that I have analyzed based on the data that was given to me by the Sheriff's Department. And I thank you for your time for hearing me out.
Okay, you would give your copy of it to the
Absolutely.
clerk here, and get it distributed to us, and we'll get it to the hands of the right people that see it.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Okay, we have 2 more. Joe G. Followed by Zach now.
It's me, Joe Gruff. I'm gonna give my address. It's none of your business. I've got just some thoughts. I listened to everybody that was speaking, and you know, it really makes you think. An Olympian goes to Paris and hears commercials about Orlando, and you know, let's have people come to Orlando. Let's spend your tax dollars here in Orlando. Come have your vacation in Orlando. But when your street floods and your home floods, and you try to get an answer from the city of Orlando, what you get is call this department. And then what that department says is call this department. And then what that person says is call this person. And really it's just a big fuck you. That's all it is. And then I don't know what happened with Patty. You can't handle people being upset. What aren't
You
happy.
can address your comments to the entire
Point of
council.
order, I reclaim
You
my
don't have a point of order.
time.
You
I
don't
do,
get a
this
point
is
of
my
order.
time, sir.
No,
This is my
I'm
time.
just asking, are we?
I reclaim my time. I would like to reclaim my time.
If you.
Why is my
want
time
for
still
1 second.
clicking? I would like to.
Because you're still talking.
All
I
you're
ask
talking
you to
during
do
my
is
time.
address council.
You are talking during my time.
All I ask you to do is address council.
Shut up. Shut up, it's my time. Who do you think I'm addressing? Is Patty a counselor?
A single member of council.
Patty, sorry about that. Buddy's got a lot.
You can direct him to me, I don't care. You're a jerk, and I don't care.
I'm a jerk?
No.
Do you know me?
I know you from the 30 seconds you've
Tell
just
me
been
more.
here, and I know what other stuff you've done, so.
Ooh, you do? You know some of the other
Yeah.
stuff, huh? This is professional. This is the mayor of Orlando. Somebody comes up, has a problem with what's going on in the city of Orlando, and the mayor of Orlando said, oh, I know about you. I don't want to let you speak. What the hell's wrong with you people? It's 3 minutes. Just let me speak for 3 minutes. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, it's easy. Take care of these people's problems. Their house is flooded. That's not a big deal to you guys, huh? Not a big deal. Oh. The only person that seemed interested was Tony Ortiz. The only other person was Mr. Burns, but he's not even here. He's taken off here in public comment. Fuck it. You guys, anybody read this? Anybody familiar?
Constitution of the United States.
Yeah. You guys should take a look. You guys should read it again. Buddy, you specifically, buddy, you need to read the Constitution. Let's take a look. We're going to do Clause 6, Section 2. Do you know what that's known as? Buddy? You know what that's known as? It's the Supremacy Clause. Do you know where the power comes from?
Okay, your time's up, thank you. Zach, go.
How you doing, everyone? I'm here because, and I drove 2 hours to get here because you guys have a policy in this city hall here where you've outlawed the First Amendment right to free press. It's the only job guaranteed to us by the Constitution. So, and what happens is your officers here trespass people for exercising in free press an inalienable right guaranteed by the First Amendment. There's also subsequent case law, Smith v. City of Cummings, to where anywhere we are allowed to record public officials in the course of their duty. There's also Brandsburg v. Hayes that says anywhere the public is allowed access, the media is also allowed access. So, and this gentleman was trespassed for recording in here and convicted from your unconstitutional, unlawful policies that you have in this building, which are also selectively enforced against independent journalists like him and I. But when you guys have all their big cameras and they're all interviewing Omari and violating the same policies, not one cop is to be found. Not one cop is there to be trespassing the mainstream media. We understand that they push your narrative and the narratives you like, and you like to call us names and jerks and cut us off. But the fact is, like he said, the Supremacy Clause, the First Amendment says we have the right to free press, and your policy in this building is unlawful, to put it lightly. And when you trespass someone, cage them and convict them for exercising their rights that you swore to protect, you are in fact violating your oath and committing treason. You understand that? You should change your policy. And why isn't the public comments being broadcast over the internet? Everyone else can be heard, but not the people. Everyone else can be broadcast over the internet because they're all engaged in vanilla toast speaking talking points. But once we say something about the Constitution and your unlawful actions against the people, that can't be seen for some reason. Stop breaking the law. Stop violating. And it's funny that the gentleman with the foreign name is the one who's actually heard about the Constitution, and none of you have ever read it seems like to me. Or else you wouldn't pass this unconstitutional, unlawful, treasonous policy you have in this City Hall. City Hall is supposed to be an open forum, and the subsequent case law says so. Follow the law.
Okay, that is all the general appearance requests that we have today. And I want to apologize to council for responding to an individual who didn't deserve or merit a response, and I will do that again.
Wow.
Okay.
We know what you deserve. We know what you deserve. Yeah, keep smiling. That's what tyrants do when they get caught. Keep it up.
So, buddy, where do you know me from?
Yeah, they got their gunmen protecting him.
Where do you know me from, buddy?
Yeah. He had a lot to say
Yeah,
2
you're
minutes
real
ago.
brave now, aren't you, buddy?
He had a lot to say.
Where's your bravery now?
They don't have term limits. So we have tyrants for 21 years in this city that have never read the Constitution in their life. That's amazing.
The old boy is right.
And the police forced to go with it.
Mr. Ortiz, do you have a card? Would you mind if I emailed you my concerns about the constitutionality of some of the policies around here and the actions of some of our government workers? I appreciate that.
My phone's about to die, everybody. Thanks for recognizing the Constitution, sir.
And I didn't mean to come up here and start.
Hey, man, I tried. I had it all written out. Really? Huh? I love you.
Club in here.
Thank you, sir.
I think they should do general comments like.
Well, they don't want people like us coming in and showing them how. See right here? If they're recording, they could be trespassed for this. Like I'm doing right here, that could be trespass. He was trespassed and convicted for that. And that's why he called him a jerk, because he actually comes here and exercises his rights. All right, everyone, my phone is definitely dying. Thanks for sticking around that long if you did, man. That was all off the top of my head. It's the best I could do. I'm gonna go home 2 hours away and drink something, smoke something, and cuddle with my lady. All right, bye.